What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate. Reverse rants, no hate. So recently, I saw a video of Roy Jones. He was basically answering some questions on his interview. Two things that they talked about particularly I want to make a mention of, but one thing for sure. Now, one of the things that Roy Jones was asked was about Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. Does he think that Wilder should retire? Does he think that he would beat Anthony Joshua? Now, Roy Jones responded, basically, he says it depends on what Anthony Joshua shows up. Anthony Joshua's bigger, stronger, and he's also better. But he says it depends on which Anthony Joshua shows up. And you could never tell a man not go out here and fight and make his money, right? But he which is true. But he also said he would like to see him tighten up a little bit. Now, Roy obviously was trying to be nice. Not even trying, he was being super nice, because even as far as the retirement parts, people going to retire whenever they're going to retire. It's not, first off, you can only fight if you're booked, right? So if you're disgracing yourself and the sport, and you're to the point where you're just sitting here fighting a bunch of bum junk fights just to make a paycheck, and somebody's booking you, right? But guess what? We also have to watch what we don't like. All right. I think the worst version we've ever seen of AJ still beat what we just seen of Deontay Wilder. Now, Wilder has definitely slipped. The Joseph Parker loss, the Zhang loss, this was just Wilder as far as I'm concerned. The same old Wilder. He just stepped up and he couldn't handle it. Simple. And as long as you lacing your boots up, getting that ring, talking about you the best or one of the best and all that, well, hey, man, you have to prove it. Now, that all being said, Anthony Joshua versus Wilder has been something that people have been wanting to see for a long time. I got to the point where a long time ago, I said, I don't even care if that fight happens or not. None of this stuff is personal to me. I do understand honor and dignity and things like that as well. So I do know that when it gets to a point where you are just making cash grabs, anybody can see it. There's no way Roy can see that in anybody else, but all of a sudden now he doesn't see it, he sees it. As I said, he was just being nice about it. Okay. This fight now would just be all right, for what? Just to say we had the fight. And especially at this point, because Wilder is looking way worse than AJ. Right? AJ didn't look good getting knocked out by Dubois like that in 4 rounds, but Dubois is a hell of a lot better than Tyrone Herndon. And both of them are a whole lot better than Wilder. So at this point, especially, and Roy can't say anything because he definitely stayed way past his prime. So he said what he said. I agree with what he said. And if any version of AJ show up and have a problem knocking out what we just seen with Wilder, then they both definitely need to retire. Or they need to invent some league, not even for legends, just a bum league. Because what we seen was a completely just a fighter who's done. His bread and butter was his right hand, and it's gone. All right. If you get your confidence back, maybe it's not going to make you throw the punch any harder because you get your confidence back. But you'll throw it. The reality is, because if he wasn't confident fighting the guy ranked 238, which is something that Roy Jones was saying about if he get his confidence back, he'll throw the right hand hard. And, you know, people talk about the last thing to go to power, but you know what, man? Sometimes fighters just, you know, all that shit don't happen to people the same way that people think it is, you know, all this cliche shit. Which is true for most cases. The power is the last thing to go. But, okay. This leads me to what Roy Jones was asked next. Roy Jones was being super nice because he basically, when he asked about Jake Paul, he said people better take Jake Paul serious. You know, Jake Paul's a real fighter, man. Jake Paul's coming to win. You know, Jake Paul, you know, he's gotten better and all, you know, he basically gave him props. But then Roy completely contradicted everything he said. Because then the guy asked him, he says to Roy, I'm going to put you on the spot. He says that Jake Paul become world champion. And that's in whatever division. He says no. And when he asked him why, Roy says because, you know, if he fight guys like me or Mike Tyson, like he got a better chance then. Because we at the end of our career. Duh. What he says, you know, if they ask him to fight guys his age, those guys too good, guys more experienced than him, they gonna wind up knocking him out. They gonna beat him. That's what he said. They're gonna beat him. We already know this, and this is exactly why I said, wow. Now Roy just gave this guy props and called him a real deal fighter and said people better take him serious. Who are these people that better take Jake Paul serious? Who? Guys like you, guys like a Mike Tyson or Evander Holyfield or somebody else in the retirement home. Like, who else? Like, you know, that was him being nice. If this dude is a real fighter, he shouldn't have a problem winning the world title, right? So when you talk about the experience, now, think about how many times I've said he don't want to fight anybody his age. It doesn't matter if they've been fighting, have to have the same amount of fights or whatever. He want a clear edge. And so if you are having fights with guys that you can't knock out, and they're old enough to be your dad and washed up. Not because age is not always a thing, because you got people that get older and still can bang and will still knock these young boys out. But what I'm saying, look at Jake Paul's skill set. Jake Paul is still a freaking novice. Okay? And so he asked him, even asking him about will he be world champion. Let me tell y'all something. Jake Paul, unless he goes in there and get knocked out, get beat again by like he lost to Tommy Fury, but people want to act like that never happened, right? Because they want to see Jake Paul do this and do that, and be able to say, you know, look at what he accomplished. And see, my only question to people like Roy Jones and anybody else who's really put time in here and were real fighters, okay? I don't think you need to walk around punching holes in the wall and personally getting upset about what Jake Paul is doing. But his contributions to the sport, financially for the women's division and whatever else, you know, he may be helping out doing, okay, great. But what he's doing in that ring, you guys are simply forgetting and overlooking the essence of boxing. They'll say they're not. They'll give you the excuses to why they're not, but you are. And I'll tell you exactly how and why you are. Every one of you motherfuckers had to start from scratch. Like when Roy first started fighting, right? Now, the beginning of his career, he fought at 154. Okay, and then he went up in weight, of course, to 160. But he started at 154. Roy ended up going all the way up to heavyweight before his career was done, and the cruiserweight, and okay. Roy Jones, a Terry Norris, a Larry Holmes, a Rocky Marciano, a Salvador Sanchez, a Pernell Whitaker, you understand? These guys all had to start from scratch and do it the hard way. What I'm trying to understand is how in the hell do you go from grinding it out the hard way, then criticizing other fighters who are real fighters for skipping the line, feeling like they didn't earn their shot. But take a Jake Paul, and you guys are so lenient with him and so okay with him doing what he's doing. I don't understand that, because for one, he should be fighting real fighters. Isn't that what you tell real fighters? So after saying that Jake Paul's a real fighter and people better take him serious, how do you come to the conclusion that it's okay for Jake Paul to cherry pick like he's doing and fight these nobody type of fighters? How do you come to that conclusion? How do we come to the conclusion that it's okay for these guys to not do what they're supposed to do? Right? I mean, to do what they're supposed to do in terms of them being real fighters, but somehow we don't need to be real when it comes to a guy like Jake Paul. I know deep down, Roy Jones and anybody else that's real fighters, at some point they have these thoughts. They look at this guy, man. We look at what we had to go through to get to where we are. This dude, I'm not mad at him because he's making big money. No. But I'm saying, look at what we had to go through. How does this guy, how does he do what he's doing? You know what I mean? How does he do what he's doing? $40 million to fight a 58-year-old that just had 8 blood transfusions. How does he do this? Yet the real fighters can't get these same opportunities because they don't have the popularity. And this guy has a YouTube following, a social media following, a podcast following. And this is how he got to where he is now. Yeah, you have to fight and train and all that, of course. But let's be real. Look at the opposition that he's fighting. Example, take a guy like Chad Dawson. What's one of his biggest criticisms? Here's a guy who people claim to be a monster, right? And what was Chad Dawson doing? Fighting guys like, look at the 3 biggest names on this guy's resume. Was an old washed up Antonio Tarver, an old washed up Glenn Johnson, and an old washed up Bernard Hopkins. Now, when he fought someone his age like a Andre Ward, he got blown away and quit. And people said, like, nah, man, Chad Dawson isn't what we thought he was. Okay. You see what I'm saying? Isn't that the same thing that Jake Paul is doing? And even worse, because he's fighting guys that, MMA guys that weren't actually boxers, and guys that were boxers but were never big dudes. So fighting guys, and even like a Mike Tyson, like, listen, man, here's the thing. The 8 blood transfusions was news to me when I heard about it. But I'm pretty sure Jake Paul got wind of what was going on. So my thing is, what people are overlooking, and this is where he's hurting boxing, okay? They're trying to make every time this dude fight, it's some type of spectacle. So boxing to the public, to this generation, is no longer boxing. The sweet science, the essence of boxing being what we seen when we saw a Larry Holmes, a Ali, a Ray Leonard, guys like that. No, that's not what it is anymore. Everything now is about a spectacle. So unless a fight card is seen as a spectacle, the rest of the so-called boxing world really don't care. It's only the real boxing fans that care. Then you got a lot of casuals mixed in with, they're just at an event, but they don't really care about who's fighting and what's going on. It's, oh, okay, well, I know Crawford and Canelo's fighting. I don't care about the rest of the card. Turki Al-Sheikh was the same guy that said he wants to see boxing at its highest level and said he has a different vision for boxing. Did he not? But then he turned around and said, oh, well, We got Canelo versus Crawford. We don't need a good undercard. What do you mean you don't need a good undercard? Then he says, anybody who wants to be on this undercard, you call me, contact me. This is what he said. So you know, what you gonna do? One person call, let me see, who would be a good opponent for this guy? You're just gonna start throwing random matches together? This is what this guy said. Is that a different vision than the vision we've already been getting? One so-called good fight, because you don't know if the fight's going to be good until it happens. You can assume, but a lot of fights happen, and it's like, the fight wasn't what I thought it was going to be. But that's what we've been getting. One good fight, and then a BS undercard. See, it's like a race, right? It's like a journey to get to where you're going. You need to try to enjoy the journey as much as you can. Because once you get to where you're going, that's when it becomes like I tell you, every fighter that we see that's hungry, that's out here in beast mode, once they get rich, once they get to that point where I don't really have to fight anymore, but I just choose to, this is when all of this bullshit starts happening, where you start going, what happened to this guy? He's fighting all these easy fights. He's right. This is when this starts. This guy's cherry picking. This guy's and what starts to happen is everybody starts going, damn, man, you know what? This is garbage. But you got to understand why this garbage is happening and why it continues to happen. It's really simple. Once you get to that point, people, where you start, everything is a spectacle. Tell me something. What was such a big deal about Jake Paul versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.? And this is what got me when people were going, I'm still confused about what I saw. Oh, I just can't. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. has been garbage from his debut to his very last fight. He's been a trash fighter ever since. And I find you guys trying to make excuses for people and trying to make someone out to be better than what they actually are. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. has always been a trash fighter. The most I remember about that guy doing something good was having one good round against Sergio Martinez in their fight, the 12th round of their fight. Other than that, and as far as you being put in the right situation to win a world title against another bum, okay, big deal. People were shocked. Who really thought Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. was going to all of a sudden, he was going to turn up? Oh, I get it. Because his daddy said there's no way his son is going to lose to Jake Paul. His son is motivated. He's focused. And y'all believed it. Okay. Here's the deal. A lot of you get convinced of the bullshit because if you notice, every time something happens, even if it's rejected in the beginning, through time, if it doesn't die soon, it'll grow and it'll become normal to people. So this is what people are looking at. Every time someone fights, it has to be a spectacle. Well, when real deal fighters are in fights, but the card is not seen as a spectacle, but then Jake Paul fight, it's a spectacle. People think he's better than what he is. Then he winds up getting a title shot. They're talking about Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul 2026. How? And aside from this being a big money fight, who really cares about this? Like, who cares about this fight? Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua. If this fight was to happen, you know what the intrigue would be? The intrigue would be, can Jake Paul do it? So Jake Paul will go from the guy everybody wanted to see Mike Tyson destroy to, damn, I'm kind of rooting for the underdog in this one. Or does Anthony Joshua somehow become the underdog against Jake Paul? Now, this could all be just talk, just to get more attention to the guy, because Jake Paul knows he's trash. Jake Paul, look, Jake Paul knows he's trash, and I'll tell you why. Because he refused to do exactly what Roy Jones said, and that's fight real competition. This way, here's the deal. If he fights Ja Opatai, he gets destroyed. If he fights Zerto Ramirez, he gets his ass kicked in that fight. If he fights Anthony Joshua, he goes night-night. But out of the 3 fights, what's the biggest fight? What's the one he's going to get paid by far more money? The Anthony Joshua fight. Now, unless AJ go in there and fight somebody and get demolished and shit, and then it's like, okay, AJ's done, he'd still fight him. He'd still fight him. You know, because the worse you look, the more confident Jake is. So if this guy is in all these spectacle fights, this is what the new boxing model has become. People are not understanding this. This is why I see, like I said, I agree with some of the things Roy said, and everybody's entitled to their opinions. But even Roy can be naive as fuck at times. Because if you don't understand and see what's happening here, popularity doesn't mean better. You know, Showbiz did a video one time, right? And I said, you know, even Showbiz, there's times he say things I agree with, but then he'll just say some outlandish shit out of nowhere. I don't know if he purposely says controversial shit just to get a reaction, or if he really truly believes what he's saying. But he was talking about when he was comparing Shakur Stevenson to Floyd, and Shakur was saying that he was better than Floyd, right? I remember Showbiz in that video broke down. He's like, nah, hell no, stop playing. He's like, Shakur's no Floyd. And I agree. People try to imitate certain fighters. And because they find success in their career, the newer generation will cling to that person because that person is closer to their age, and or he's from my generation, so they'll go with that person over someone from the old generation, which is so stupid. But I remember him putting these clips up showing how when Floyd got rocked by Shane Mosley, how he kept pressuring, got his bearings. He never, went down, but he basically started walking Shane down, took over that fight, and got to the point. Remember when Shane was trying to shake his hand and Floyd punched him in his face, right? While he's trying to, touch gloves again. This is protect yourself at all times. Middle of the fight. What the hell are we shaking hands about again, right? When Victor Ortiz headbutt him, keep coming over there hugging, and then he, nah. He's talking about how Floyd was different. Floyd was a throwback fighter. Okay. The fact that he had to explain it to people, it just goes to show you what I'm saying about how people see things based on what they're told. So when they see something in front of them, they think that's it. They don't do their homework. And when people do their homework now, it's more like I do it to find something I can criticize. But I'm not really doing it to really lock in. You understand what I'm saying? And look at, well, damn, let's, let me see what this person, had. It's like I watched somebody do a reaction to Barry Sanders, and this guy was jumping up. I mean, I don't understand all the excitement, man. It's like very immature people act like little kids jumping up out their seat, making a high-pitched voice and all that. But the guy was like, wow, like he never saw anybody like Barry Sanders. Now, whoever his favorite running back is, I don't remember, don't care. But he was saying, nah, this dude, Barry, he was different. Then he got into the video and said, nah, this is fake, yo. This is fake. There's no way that's real. Nah, that's AI. And I'm just like, wow. People believe AI, but they don't believe what's actually real. But that's how you ended the video. That it's fake. Nah, that's bullshit. Nobody can. It's not even humanly possible. Now we watched Barry Sanders do these things. We watched Bo Jackson steamrolling truck over people. We watched all these different running backs do these things. And here's a guy from this generation saying that it was fake. It wasn't real. Okay. Now, at the end of the day, this is exactly what I mean about how people watch things to criticize. And they watch things not understanding like what they're actually seeing. If you think Jake Paul is a real deal fighter, which is what Roy said, but then Roy says he doesn't see him winning a championship. No. Because he knows when he steps up, he's going to get exposed for being a bum. And I call him a bum because he's purposely handpicking guys that's over the hill. He's not beating anybody relevant. What the fuck would you call him if he was fighting? And they say, yeah, but if he had an extensive boxing career, amateur career, that'd be different. No, fuck that. So, to debunk all that, like I said before, I don't even have to use this for an example, but Francis Ngannou got less fights, way less fights. Why don't he fight Francis Ngannou? I mean, if you're willing to fight AJ, who knocked Francis Ngannou out in a couple of rounds, why won't you fight? Why won't you fight Francis? No, he doesn't want to fight anybody that's going to derail what he's trying to do, which is I'm going to be the Randy Orton of boxing. I'm going to be the legend killer, and I'm going to find myself in a title shot just because I'm knocking out people that have respect on their name for what they did 25, 30 years ago. And this is where you tell me that that's fair? That a motherfucker gets famous from a YouTube channel, from a podcast, and all of a sudden, this guy is the highest paid boxer that there is. This guy has a following of casuals. This guy has a following of people that rebel against actual real boxing. This guy has a following of people that's basically thinking anybody can just get up, put on a pair of gloves and some fucking, shorts and some goddamn sneakers and just jump in the ring and box. That's exactly what you're seeing. So the respect for real boxing is gone. Because anytime that look, this is what these crossover fights do, man. It's like when it gets to the point where everything is just money, 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 the event is money, money, money. It's so unfair to real fighters. Why? Like I said, they're not getting these opportunities, man. It's the same thing when you watch professional wrestling and you got these men and women beating their bodies up, leaving their families home, on the road out here performing and doing what they're doing, right? And they can't get certain spots because, well, you can wrestle, but you're not that popular. You need more character. So wait, a motherfucker who's been in this business already 15 fucking years, 20 years before they finally make it to AEW or WWE, and you tell me that they will get a slow push, but you'll take Travis Scott, little scrawny ass, who's not even a fucking wrestler, and put him in the ring. You'll take I Show Speed and throw him in the fucking ring and take somebody's spot because he has a following. Same with Logan Paul. Now, Logan Paul actually has developed into he actually is good at what he does. His style works for him. But once again, where are these other people that are way better than this guy that's been here way longer? But because of popularity, and you come from a whole different genre of what you do to get popular, and all of a sudden, you are main eventing. You are given championships. You are in a position where other wrestlers are sitting back there, bodies just far more beat up than yours, earning their dues. But are you really earning your dues when you're being unnoticed? Same shit. Everything is about a spectacle. A spectacle. I'll give you an example of bullshit. Most WWE fans, you see these people coming with these podcasts and these YouTube channels, they're pissed off they like the WWE is boring. They're giving you garbage. The storylines don't make any sense. Yeah. Do you know what they're doing? Because AEW is competition. So let's try to keep stacking up shows all month long, a bunch of PLEs, and everything that AEW is doing, we're trying to combat that. Why? Because they don't want AEW as competition. They don't want another company that's owned by a multi-billionaire that can pay these guys the same or more than what they're paying them. They don't want that. See, they don't fear TNA. They work with these little tinker toy companies. They don't fear MLW. They don't fear NWA. They don't fear any of these other companies. Everybody that's a free agent in AEW, all of a sudden the WWE wants them, but they don't see them as competition, right? That's bullshit. They fear these guys because they're like, damn. They blame them for their decrease in viewership. They're watching AEW. They're not watching us. They're watching them and see we don't want them. We don't want, just like when WCW went away, then there was really only WWE that was getting TV time and, on a major network, and there were no other companies up here. I'm not talking about New Japan and AAA in Mexico and CMLL in Mexico. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about in America. So what ends up happening now? Out of nowhere, Tony Khan and AEW comes along, the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes, and what happens? Damn, we got competition again. Oh, let's act arrogant like there's no competition. We're not worried about that. No, bullshit. So why are these shows such garbage? One, Triple H has lost his goddamn mind. He doesn't care. He told the fans to fuck off, and he told us, the fans, that they need to be fans and not be critics. So basically, just take whatever garbage we shove down your throats and just accept it. It's cool to voice your opinion, to tell us how much, we're the best, we're the greatest, we're the biggest, all that. Yeah, but you can't tell us when you don't like what we're doing. And so what happens, they're trying to block AEW. And it's not working because AEW has its own fan base. So being that they're blocking, boom, 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 they're putting these shows out, the writing, the script is stupid. It's bullshit. Triple H says stories don't have to make sense. That should end all of your confusion as to why you're getting a garbage product. They don't give a fuck about what they're giving you. $30,000, $40,000 seats to go to fucking SummerSlam. Yeah, this is all they care about. Money, money, money. We don't care about you. Their wrestlers are lashing out at the fans for showing, expressing the fact that they don't like the product that they're getting, right? Hey, man, listen, people can say what they want to say. But the reality is, in life, you're only going to have a handful of people, okay? A handful of people that's going to be honest out of everybody that they're around about what they see. Boxing, you're seeing the same thing. What's the connection, Aries? It's the mindset of the people. And guess who also is involved with the WWE? Turkey Al-Sheikh and Riyadh season. Yeah. So now they're talking about boxers crossing over like Tyson Fury did at one point, Muhammad Ali, Floyd Mayweather, Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson. But now it's more of a frequent, everything is entertainment. Boxing has lost its essence a long time ago, man. And this is what I'm telling you. If Canelo versus Terrence Crawford, both guys being the same people that they are, but not having the popularity, do you think that Turkey would go out his way to make that fight because of the fight that he thinks he's going to get? No. It's the spectacle. So what started out as, hey, this guy want to put the best cards together, he's all about boxing, it doesn't necessarily stay that way. And you can see there's a shift in the way Turkey is doing shit, how he's booking shit. And then in conversations with the Oscar De La Hoya or Dana White and seeing how things work in boxing, he's trying to do things his way. But everything is about a fucking spectacle. And once again, example, I think Ja Opetaia will beat the shit out of Jake Paul. But who's more popular? So isn't that weird? A guy with no title, never won a title, not even a fucking novice, can get $40 million in one fight. But a guy like Ja Opetaia, who will stomp a mud hole in his ass, ends up not being able to get these same type of fights. Well, this is where, right now, I've been telling you guys for the longest, what you're seeing. If the money is not huge, whoever's putting these cards together, if they don't see like huge money, they don't want to get involved. And you look at what Turkey's doing. This is what this guy's trying to do. Everything has to be a spectacle. And I don't mean because he's trying to put the best cards together. No, that's not what I mean. I'm talking about the fact that he's always trying to find, what can I do? Who can we put together where this is going to be a huge money fight, a huge spectacle, everybody's going to come out. So even if it means, okay, like he said, we got Canelo versus Crawford, just that fight alone, we don't need a good undercard. Are you shitting me? Like when he put Ryan and Raleigh in the ring, when he put Devin Haney Ramirez in the ring, okay, T.O. in the ring, when he got the fights, that those 3 fights. Okay, the thing with that is this. You put 2 guys in the ring, one who was fresh off PEDs, off PEDs, okay, the other guy who took a tremendous beating by that same guy, and the other guy, none of them had fought in a while, and you throw them all on one card, and you think for namesake, this is going to be a successful, huge event. That's what he thought. And 1 out of 3 fights, people say, the T.O. fight, well, I didn't even think that was a good fight either. But none of those fights were good fights. I do understand why, like I said, look, whatever Haney's reason, for fighting the way he did with okay, cool, whatever. Bottom line is he won. He got criticized because, he ran. The Raleigh fight, people were more upset because they feel like Raleigh pulled off the upset. Then you got the bullshit T.O. fight, who, put his hands on his opponent more so than Ryan and the other 2 fights. But bottom line, 3 garbage fights by big names. You see what I'm saying? You were in that arena, that venue, invitation only. Okay. That means people paid a nice, hefty price to be there. Regular 9 to 5, no, you can't afford this. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's what this was. So pretty much, if you wanted to see it and you wasn't invited, well, the only way you're going to see it is pay-per-view, or whatever streaming at the Zone or whatever the hell it was, whatever, I don't know. But bottom line, I wasn't ordering that bullshit, not me. But do you guys understand where I'm coming from? This is the direction that boxing has went to. This is what it is. Everybody want to break somebody's record. Everybody want to say I made more money than the next person, or I finally caught up to Floyd. I surpassed Floyd. I did this. I did that. All this nonsense. It's just all about money. We told you in the women's division, in women's boxing, as soon as the money starts to go up, you're going to start to see this diva shit happening. And 2 of the better female fighters, in Alicia Baumgardner and Amanda Serrano, we got Amanda saying, I'll fight Alicia under one condition. It has to be 12 3-minute rounds. She feels that she needs those extra rounds because, see, we knew that at the time, at least, Alicia Baumgardner was having stamina issues. We know that she punches herself out and she's like defenseless at that point. She can't throw anything else. And that was what Amanda Serrano was dependent on. That extra minute and those extra rounds. Baumgartner's not going to be able to take that pace, and I'm going to push her, and that's how I'm going to pull the fight out, by pushing her and making her fight more and testing her stamina, and that's what she was thinking she was going to do. Why give her that stipulation but nobody else? On the other hand, Alicia Baumgardner is saying, are you paying me for that extra minutes? Okay, wait. So what happened to the best fighting the best? What happened to these women talking about we can do anything men can do, we fight just as hard as them, but here you go with the same bullshit tactics. And talk about delusion, even Amanda Serrano at the last press conference they had, for the build up for the third fight with Katie Taylor, and she goes, I'm not saying I got robbed. I never said I got robbed. I'm just saying the judges didn't see it my way. And she started laughing because she realized that was just stupid what she said. You didn't get robbed, but the judges didn't see it your way. So why are you complaining, saying you know that you won? If you say you know that you won the fight, everybody knows you won, but I didn't say I got robbed. That makes no sense. But this is the time that we're in. People don't pay attention to what is happening, what's happening right in front of your face. They really don't. They just see things and they just go with whatever everybody else is doing. And I'm telling you guys, the worst thing that has happened to boxing, I'm telling you, the worst thing that has happened to boxing is the fact that you got too many people involved where it's just big money, deep pockets. Because as much as they want to tell you they love this sport and you know, all this bullshit about how they're true boxing aficionados, they're not. They don't love this sport, man. And for those who did love it at one point, for those who have been here from day one as actual real fighters, but they're not now, you got to remember something. What was isn't right now. So what was going on at one point where you really did respect this sport, this is what it's become. And instead of them understanding that, they're going, hey, man, how can I get some of this money? How can I be a part of this? So whether it's commentary, whether you become a trainer, whatever it is that you're trying to be associated and affiliated with people that can get you a part of the bigger fights and, you know, fight cards and things that's going on where, hey, man, you know, I can still earn a living. Well, you should still be able to do that regardless without having to suck up and pretend that what's happening is not some bullshit. Now, people would say, well, you're a hypocrite if you're complaining and then you go and, you know, be a part of it. No. Here's the thing about it. I can understand people calling you a hypocrite if you're bitching, but then they call you and you say, oh, yeah, sure, I'd be a part of this. No, here's the thing, though. You're a part of something that's headlined by somebody that's bullshit. But you're not, you are there for your fighter. You're fighting off, you're fighting on that card. That doesn't make you a hypocrite, man. No. Because you could say, hey, it's great that this guy's doing what he's doing. Now, why don't he fight a real fighter? You know why? Because if he does, and he gets knocked the fuck out, like Jai Pattaya would do, then the hype train is over. The momentum slows down. Now, the provider can't provide the way he once would. That's all this shit is. So people who are not affiliated with Jake Paul and feel like they never will be, they'll be the ones to come out and say, you know what, man, Jake Paul, fuck him. Jake Paul ain't shit. He's trash. He's nothing but a hype job. You can't sit here and say that Kid Austin, Floyd Schofield is a hype job. Brian Norman Jr. is a hype job. Teron Ennis is a hype job. Shakur Stevenson is a hype job. There's no way you can sit here. Keyshawn Davis is a hype job. Abdullah Mason is a hype job. But fucking Jake Paul isn't? Nah. That's bullshit. And the fact that this dude name is even being mentioned with Jai Pattaya or Anthony Joshua is fucking disgraceful, to be honest with you, man. Now, if he was to go in there and actually win, then that all goes away because it's like, yeah, okay, he skipped the line, but he went and he won. So guess what? Now we can take him serious because he finally beat a real fighter. Who the fuck think he beats Jai Pattaya? Who think he beats Anthony Joshua? And when that's your motive, let me wait and fight some declined fighter, or let me fight the worst fighters I can possibly find. Let's not forget, this is the same guy that sat there and told Eddie Hearn, I'm better than half the boxers on your roster. Now, if you truly believe that shit, then you know what should happen? You should have no problems fighting any of those fighters on the roster. I'll give you a perfect example, right? Go to Bridgerweight and fight Lawrence Okoli. You guys already know the answer to that. You know that that's not going to happen, and you know why it's not going to happen. And this is why I say, when things are happening in this sport of boxing, and all we get is a bunch of people that all they care about is money, all they care about is being able to say, I was there the night that this and that happened. They're there on the red carpet taking photos and all. They're not there for boxing, man. Sean Porter said a couple years ago, when people come to a boxing event, they're not there for boxing. They're there for the entertainment. And I'm like, so this is how lame you people are? You will show up to a boxing event not for the boxing. Not for these guys, men and women that's in there busting their asses, putting their life on the line, right? To put the best, performance on it they can to entertain you through the fight. You're there. Oh, shit, there goes Shaquille O'Neal. Oh, there goes Keke Palmer. Oh, Holly Berry's sitting over there. Oh, shit, there goes Hugh Jackman. That's what you're there for? You're there to see the ring walk. You're there to see what the fighter's wearing to the ring, but you're not there for the fucking fight? That's what you're there for? Well, I'll tell you what. I feel like there's less expensive ways to waste time. So when he says that, and this was some years ago, well, I told you guys, yeah. It's not the fact that he said it, because I agree with what he said. It's the fact the way he said it as if he's okay with it. Yet, when you got fighters who duck each other, when you got fights that just can't happen for whatever reason, and you guys sound so frustrated and act like, man, there's no reason that this fight shouldn't happen. These guys should. It's like you might as well stop wasting your goddamn time. Because you know the truth deep down inside, but you're sitting up here on your podcast playing dumb like you don't understand why. It's so difficult to get these actual fights to happen. Let's just be real. Unless Jake Paul, like, here's my thing. If Jake Paul stepped up and beat, F.A. Jogba, if he stepped up and beat Fabio Wardley, like somebody that's worth, that can actually fight, and then him and AJ got in the ring, okay, cool. There's no way you beat a guy like a Mike Tyson, you beat a fucking Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., and guys on that level, and then all of a sudden your next fight is with Anthony Joshua. It's just for the fucking payday, man. Because there's no way you can prepare yourself to fight a guy like that by beating such fucking low opposition. You understand what I'm saying? It's just like, for example, if you're going in the ring to fight a southpaw, do you train fighting orthodox guys, or do you go in there and train against southpaws? Come on, y'all. If you're training a tall guy, are you sparring with short guys? If you're fighting a short guy, do you spar with tall guys for that particular fight? Like, come on. Iron sharpens iron, right? Okay, then. So how do you get ready for Anthony Joshua by beating guys that's washed up and over the hill, like way worse than what he is, and guys that he would destroy? And you go and fight those guys? So, example, let's just say right now, if the WBA, if their corrupt asses said, hey man, Jao Pataya, or whichever belt he holds, we want Jao Pataya versus Jake Paul after his impressive win against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. That was a junk, garbage, boring ass fight. And here's the thing. Jake Paul is trying to knock guys out. Jake Paul is out there trying to win these fights against these washed up ass guys. But at the same time, see, he won't fight a 39-year-old Francis Ngannou, but he will fight a 39-year-old fucking Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. because this dude has been trash all his life. And then and on top of that, he's never fought, at the heavier weights. The guy was fighting at 154, 160. He was a fucking middleweight. So, and he was never like a strong fighter, a big. So the dude is basically weak, has no pop on his punch. Chavez is trash. So that warrants you to have a title fight? The experience that you're gaining is fighting this type of opposition? What the fuck was we saying about Deontay Wilder all this time? All these guys he's beating are a bunch of like nobodies. Guys that have no real skill. Guys that C level, D level, right? So you can't prepare for A-level guy fighting C-level and D-level guys. Why is it different for fucking Jake Paul? And this is what I've been saying all this time. It's nothing new. All this time. We are in a position right now in life, not just boxing, in life. We accept watered down bullshit, and we don't understand why we keep getting more of it is because we keep supporting it. I didn't watch Chavez and Jake Paul. I saw the bullshit highlights because I don't care to see the fight. I don't need to. I had my homies just telling me what happened, and I'm like, nah, whatever, man, you know. But yeah, there's no improvement in this guy where he's on the level of a Ja Opataya. And that's going to be the excuse if he gets a fight like that and get his ass kicked. That, well, you know, he's young, man. You know, young got nothing to do with it. It's the fact that the guy runs his mouth and he's talked his way into this position, fighting these nobodies. Man, let me tell you some shit, man. There's guys right now in the gym I could take and put in the ring that would beat Mike Tyson. There's guys that would beat Roy Jones, and these motherfuckers haven't even had one pro fight yet. This is what I'm saying. You're fighting over the hill, washed up guys, man. Who's next? Holyfield? Who's next? John Pascal? This is all this guy does, man. He's fighting washed up over the hill guys. This isn't good for the sport. See, they look at the money that you bring in from the live gate, pay-per-views and all that. This is what they look at. But they're not looking at the low quality fights. These junk garbage, that's what they're not looking at. Even when you match fighters up. Example, people think Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson will be a boring fight because they feel like both guys are going to be too defensive. Well, let's just say if that would be true. If it came down to these two, well, they're not in the same division anymore. But if but I'm saying, do you think it would be right to try to take the opportunity away from these guys because you think it's going to be a boring fight? How about this then? Don't make it the main event. How about that? We thought we were going to get fireworks with Fabio Wardley and Frazier Clark rematch, right? That's what happened. First round knockout. So even though that might have been exciting to a lot of people, it was disappointing to a lot of people because they like, damn, man, we wanted to see a war, but well, hell, you got what you got. You can't predict these fights, and like, I don't mind a chess match. I like the variety. You can't always just be boxer brawler or just two brawl. You have to mix it up, man. Like, and the bottom line is, don't deny somebody what they've earned, and that's why I think about it. Derek Chisora said nobody gives a fuck about Joseph Parker. That guy is boring. And yet, he beat Deontay. Well, let's try to get Deontay a shot. He beat Zhang. You know, he won 5 straight fights. And yet, somehow, they're trying to give Deontay another fight. Not the guy that beat him, but Deontay. They're trying to overlook Joseph Parker. You know, Joseph Parker was supposed to fight Dubois. I don't care what nobody fucking says, man. I wasn't there to see it for myself. And I'm only, my opinion is Dubois full of shit. That motherfucker wasn't sick. He wanted out because he wanted the bigger payday. And he basically knows it's a possibility that Joseph Parker beats his ass. Then he'll lose his spot as his rematch against Usyk. Now look at what's happening. All of a sudden I'm pissed off. I'm mad. I want to fight the guy. I'm mad. I'm pissed off. I'm fucking mad. Yes, I'm pissed the fuck off. Yes, I want my fight against Joseph Parker. Yes, I'm fucking mad. I am stark raving angry. I'm pissed off because I wanted the Joseph Parker. Yes, I want the fucking. I'm pissed. I'm fucking pissed off. I'm mad, pissed off, angry, mad. Yeah, all that acting he was doing. Motherfucker, you make it seem like like Joseph Parker said, nah, I'm no longer interested. You're the fucking one that walked away to go fight Usyk. We already know how that happened. But yeah, and you know what people would say? Yeah, but you can't fault. Yeah, you can fucking fault them because this fight was supposed to actually happen. Okay, you're better now. Great. Now fight Joseph Parker. Nah, he goes on to Usyk. Come on, yo. Stop it. And let's just say, even if he was legitimately sick, he still used it as an excuse to not fight Joseph Parker. Come on, y'all, wake up. And for the people that agree and say, yeah, okay, cool, then how the fuck can you agree with that, but then try to defend Jake Paul. Because that's all this guy does. That's the cherry pick king. Talk about a guy that fights somebody that's too old and that's the cherry pick king. So boxing is where it is because, like I said, the acceptance, and as long as the money's there, they're gonna support bullshit and they're gonna participate. And that's why Roy was careful with his words, because if he ever got that call to fight Jake Paul for the right amount of money, he'd do it. And he don't want to be called a hypocrite. I'm not stupid, man. But it is what it is. Talk to me in the comment section, y'all. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people, and I will catch y'all on the next video.